We're joined by my former congressional colleague, Pete Hoekstra of Michigan. He also served as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee during our days there. Pete, thanks for bringing your intelligent perspective to what happened with the election last night.
Hey, good morning.
It's great to have you, and it is a good morning for a lot of GOPers, especially about a dozen new members of Congress. In one sense, it's very historic what transpired for House Republicans last night.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the time that you and I served in the majority in Washington, a lot of times we had a majority of somewhere around 10 to 15 seats, which, made it tough on occasion to pass some very, very significant legislation. John Boehner is going to come back as a Speaker of the House. He's going to have a cushion of somewhere between 25 and 30 seats to pass legislation through the House. That's going to give him a lot more flexibility and leverage to get things done.
Well, let's talk some about that, because truth be told, John Boehner is still looking for votes, because you do go through leadership elections as you organize for the next Congress. We've seen a lot of conservative grumbling. Does last night spare him an open revolt in the next Congress?
Oh, I think so. I think the leadership team, they just went through the process of replacing Eric Kander a few months ago. They've got a new leadership team in place headed by John Boehner. There may be challenges, but they're not going to be successful. What this team has now done is they've put in place not only a Republican majority to through 2016, but I think the margin is significant enough that regardless of what happens in 2016, Republicans are going to maintain the majority after the 2016 presidential elections. And JD, you and I both know that having 218 members in your caucus is a really comfortable and awesome place to be. You don't want to go back into the minority. So there may be a challenge to Speaker Boehner, but it will not be successful.
About 2.5 minutes remain in this segment. We're going to shift our focus when we invite you back following the break, but let me concentrate on politics. Just one more note on congressional politics. Congress was polling with lower approval numbers than the president, somewhere around 20% for Congress as an institution. President Obama and the Democrats tried to run against the Republican House. The Democrats just could not get that message through last night. Did they make a tactical error?
Oh, I think so. I mean, you can't run against, the House. You can't run against your House member. People historically, they hate the House of Representatives, but, they're very favorable and they very much like their congressperson. We saw last night that it did become a nationalized election. The measure here was President Obama. People like Nick Rahal in West Virginia, Barrow in Georgia, long-term Democrats in conservative-leaning districts were taken out last night because their agenda had aligned too closely with the president's agenda.
About a minute left. We're going to have you look homeward to Michigan, where Governor Rick Snyder, the Republican incumbent, won re-election. Give us a quick take on your home state.
We had a good night in Michigan, not as good as what we'd like to have had, but, we kept the governor's race, we kept the state house, the state senate, re-elected an attorney general, re-elected a secretary of state. So it was a good night in Michigan. We would love to have had a more competitive race for the U.S. Senate. Michigan has not had or has not elected a Republican senator since 1992. It's time that we change that, but it didn't happen this cycle. So, we've got to wait at least 4 more years before we've got a shot at making that happen.
30 seconds. What happened in that campaign for Terry Lynn Land against the Democrat Gary Peters, who won the seat?
Terry was never able to go out and excite the voters in Michigan the same way that Joan Ernst in Iowa, Cory Gardner in Colorado, other blue states. We were never able to get that kind of energy and that kind of referendum on the president with a great candidate in Michigan. So we ended up coming short. But hey, we'll take what we got. It's great to have it's great to have Rick Snyder with another 4 years.
And it's great to have you along, Pete Hoekstra. We're going to ask you to stay. When we come back, disturbing developments overseas. That'll be part of our intelligence brief with our good friend Pete Hoekstra coming up next.